This is an opportunity for us to, as much as possible, dedicate our day for times of formal practice where we can. And in whatever we're doing, however we're spending our time, to be giving priority to our practice of mindfulness, considering the Eightfold Path given to us by the Lord Buddha, considering the precepts today, the Sila aspect of the path, virtue aspect of the path. It's an invitation for us to really assess how we're doing, our speech, action, and thoughts, to promote harmlessness, to avoid any kind of suffering here. And the samadhi aspect of the path, to give that even more attention today, on this full moon day, to develop right effort, right samadhi, right focus, right stillness, and right mindfulness. And also to develop the wisdom, panya aspects of the path, right view and right intention. Right view, considering the Buddha's Four Noble Truths. Why do we suffer? What's the cause? And how can we let go of suffering right here? And honing our intention, pointing us in the direction of freedom, of liberation, the way out of suffering. Remembering harmlessness, non-cruelty, that is metta, karuna, kindness and compassion, every step of the way. And renunciation, willingness to let go, to simplify, to move away from distraction, make the most of our time. And so we can feel very glad in the heart that we are here with this intention, with this wisdom that's brought us onto the path, and that can now continue to grow and flourish, with the wish to meditate, realize truth, be present, and the wish to support all of this good practice with our keeping of the precepts, our virtue, our harmlessness, our goodness in this lifetime. Oh, I'd like to encourage you all to very mindfully continue, but with the eyes open now. And we can very, in a very focused and embodied way, direct our attention to this beautiful ceremony that we can now participate in, to very formally and mindfully recommit, restate, reaffirm our practice of the 5 precepts, the 5 precepts that we keep all the time, the precepts around the important boundaries around our behavior and speech that really keep us safe and make us harmless and safe for others. And also we can now, just for the day, the 24 hours, we can also take on the renunciant precepts, the 8 precepts, the extra 3, which give us more space, give us more time, more energy for the practice. So to refrain from eating in the evening, instead of all that meal prep, eating time and tidying up afterwards, we can let all that go and we can spend more time practicing meditation. Some of you may have to cook for others. This will be extremely noble if so, but to see if we can just not indulge in eating throughout the day on this occasion, for this time, just to finish eating at noon or soon after, and give ourselves all that extra time, all that extra space and energy for practice, and to, steer away from any kind of distraction today. Put aside the phones, the computers, the TV, the books. If we need to read, we're compelled to do something, take in some sort of mental input, then let's read a Dhamma book or listen to a Dhamma talk, and tune in this evening to the Dhamma session with Sayadaw Ujagara. This will be a great way to end our day of practice. But to see how much we can let go of today and how much more simply we can live on this auspicious moon day. And with sleep, the precept around the high, the luxurious sleeping place, let's consider, what is it really pointing to for us? It's pointing to alertness, awake, being energized as much as we can when we're not needing to sleep. And during the day, we can consider this and find ways to help ourselves to avoid any kind of sloth and torpor. And at night, whatever bed you have, it's okay. You don't have to change it into a different kind of bed, but just consider, how much sleep do I need? How long can I meditate and comfortably live, healthily live, not depriving myself of sleep, but also, are there ways I can indulge a little less in comfort, lying in bed, luxuriating? Just a question for us. This precept just brings this in for us. Can I be making the most of every waking hour and assessing how much time I actually need to zone out, to allow myself to drop off into sleep? So, my dear friends, I have the script for us ready to take us through this ceremony, so you can be reading as we go along if needed. and I'll talk us through also. I'd like to begin. If you would like to start by, if you have a Buddha, I know some of you have beautiful shrines right there in front of you. If you have a Buddha image, or the Buddha here, here behind me will do. Otherwise, very nicely. We can begin by bowing 3 times to the Buddha. Okay. Bear with me. Okay. So first of all, I'd like to invite you to request the 3 refuges and the 8 precepts in Pali and in English. So I know that Ruanthi is very familiar with this. You're very welcome to either mute or unmute, whatever feels comfortable for you, and join Ruanthi in requesting. Please go ahead, Ruanthi.
Dutiyampi ahamaye isarenya saha atyasinani yatami Dutiyampi ahamaye isarenya saha atyasinani yatami. Venerable, I request the 3 refuges and the 8 precepts. A second time, Venerable, I request the 3 refuges and the 8 precepts. A third time, Venerable, I request the 3 refuges and the 8 precepts.
So I'm going to chant the Namo Tassa 3 times, and then I'd like you to repeat 3 times together. And I'll recite first in Pali, and we'll get you to repeat in Pali, and then we'll do the same in English. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage
To the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to
The blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
And then we can go together line by line, repeating after me. Buddhang saranam gacchami.
Buddham saranam gacchami.
To the Buddha I go for refuge.
To the
Buddha I go for refuge.
Dhammang saranam gacchami.
Dhammam saranam gacchami.
To the Dhamma I go for refuge.
To the Dhamma I go for refuge.
Sangham saranam gacchami.
Sangham saranam gacchami.
To the Sangha, to the Dhamma I go for refuge.
To the Dhamma I go for refuge.
Sangham saranam gacchami.
Sangham saranam gacchami.
To the Sangha I go for refuge.
To the Sangha I go for refuge.
Dutiyampi Buddhang saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami.
For the second time to the Buddha I go for refuge.
For the second time to the Buddha I go for refuge.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammam saranam gacchami.
For the second time to the Dhamma I go for refuge.
For the second time to the Dhamma I go for refuge.
Dutiyampi sangham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi sangham saranam gacchami.
For the second time to the Sangha I go for refuge.
For the
Second time to the Sangha I go for refuge.
Tatyampi Buddhang saranam gacchami.
Tatyampi Buddham
saranam
For the third time to the Buddha I go for refuge.
For the third time to the Buddha I go for refuge.
Tatyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatyampi
Dhammam saranang gacchami.
For the third time to the Dhamma I go for refuge.
For the
third time to the Dhamma
I go for refuge.
Tatyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatyampi sangham saranam gacchami.
For the third time to the Sangha I go for refuge.
For the third time to the Sangha
I go for refuge.
Tisaranagamana nititam. This completes the going for the 3 refuges.
Amen. Yes,
Venerable.
Wonderful. So now we can really give all our attention, all our heart to the reaffirming of these 5 precepts and the taking of the extra 3, the 8 precepts. Repeating after me. Panatipata veramaniya sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Panatipata viramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
Adinadana veramaniya sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Adinandana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
I undertake the
precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
Abrahmacharya veramaniya sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Abrahmacharya veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from any kind of sexual activity.
I undertake the precept to refrain from any kind of sexual activity.
Musawada veramaniya sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Musawada veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from false and harmful speech.
I undertake the precept to refrain from false and harmful speech.
Sura miraya majjapamadhatana veramaniya sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Sura
majjapamadhatana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to heedlessness.
I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to heedlessness.
Vikala Bhojana Veramaniya Sikaparang Samadhiyami.
Vikala Bhojana Veramani Sikapadam Samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from eating at inappropriate times.
I undertake the precept to refrain from eating at inappropriate times.
Nacha Gita Wadita Visukadasana Mala Ganda Vilepana Dharana Mandana Vibhusanatana Veramani Sikapadan Samadhiyami.
Nachachittawadita Visukadasana Malaganda Vilepana Dharana Mandana Vibhusanatana
Veramani Samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from entertainment, beautification, and adornment.
I undertake the precept to refrain from entertainment, beautification, and adornment.
Uchasayana Mahasayana Veramaniya Sikapadan Samadhiyami.
Uchasayana Mahasayana
Veramani
Sikapadam Samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying on a high or luxurious sleeping place.
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying on a high or luxurious sleeping place.
So repeat 3 times after me. Imaniyata sikapadani samadhiyami.
Imaniyata sikapadani samadhiyami.
Imaniyatu sikapadani samadhiyami. Imaniyatu sikapadani samadhiyami.
And in English, I undertake these 8 precepts.
I undertake these 8 precepts.
Three times.
I undertake these 8 precepts. I undertake these 8 precepts.
Imaniyata sikapadani silena sugatinyanti silena boga sampada silena niputinyanti tasma silam visodaye. These are the 8 precepts. Virtue is the source of happiness. Virtue is the source of true wealth. Virtue is the source of peacefulness. Therefore, let virtue be purified.
Sadhu.
And you can conclude by bowing 3 times to the Buddha. So, dear friends, this is so helpful for us to set our intentions. This word sati, this word for mindfulness, as we know, most likely means, to be aware, to be present, to be fully engaged with our current momentary experience. And it also means to remember, to recollect. And we help ourselves tremendously, don't we, when we bring to mind the Buddha's teachings. We direct our attention in skillful ways. And so we have our formal practice, we have our, ways of paying attention skillfully, yoniso manasikara, to yoke the attention, to practicing the 4 satipatthanas, to practicing body awareness, breath awareness, being aware of feeling in the body, being aware of the state of mind. What kind of emotions are moving through at this time? Is there something there or not? And is there any thinking happening? And all of these ways in which we pay attention are so important for us to develop our samadhi, to develop our mindfulness. But also we can from time to time dip in to the Buddha's teachings, just as we do when we come and join Dhamma talks, Dhamma sessions, sutta study groups, to help us to recollect, to remember the Dhamma teachings from the Lord Buddha. And these precepts, yes, we keep the 5 precepts in our daily life. We work on that. We try to refine. It's always alive for us, isn't it? Let it be alive, this practice of the precepts. What I mean is bringing the precepts in and applying them to our everyday life and seeing how we can live more and more skillfully. This kind of refinement that can happen with our speech, with our actions, with the ways in which we're living on this planet, in this body, in this lifetime. And so, to bring in ceremonies like today, on the full moon, the new moon, is to refresh and remember and recollect these precepts. We can think we know them, been practicing them all my life, or ever since I came across the Buddha's teachings, been doing my best to practice these precepts. I know these precepts. Sometimes people think, having a ceremony, what's the point? I'm doing it anyway. I'm following the precepts anyway. But you're here, and I think you can therefore recognize, as I do, that actually to speak them out, give time, bring in the refuges, the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, bring them to mind again and again is so valuable for us. And oftentimes on the moon days, when we have a chance to retake or even affirm the 8 precepts for a day, then we can really also notice that the mind will bring up for us any areas of unease around the precepts. Anything that's not quite comfortable for me in my job, in my family life, in the ways I'm spending my time. Anything that feels a little bit uneasy. I'm not quite sure that this is really wholesome, ultimately. These questions will come up for us. A ceremony like this, a refreshing and a reminding of the precepts, gives a chance for us to notice if there's anything that needs a little polishing, a little bit of renunciation required here, a little bit of consideration required here. So this is a time, this day is a day of practice for us. It's also a time for us to recollect the Buddha's teachings, what speaks to you, what feels important for you to examine and explore, and to look at the precepts again. It's always as if we're beginning. We're starting afresh. This is the karma that's brought this. How can I choose to move forward in the most skillful way possible? Ideally, we're doing this kind of an assessment continuously. But for many of us, we're creatures of habit, as we know. We can tend to get a little bit sleepy. We can tend to be a little bit compelled by our karmic kind of predicament. Our habits is what I'm talking about. We're creatures of habit, and so we'll tend to follow somewhat mindlessly, like being on automatic pilot. We tend to live our lives in this way. It's just the way of the way we're programmed. So it's not easy to continually let go and start afresh. But this is an encouragement for us today on a full moon, a new moon day, or even half moon days, even once a week, to actually consider what's brought this moment, what's brought this, and how can it move forward in the most wholesome, most liberating way, and see where that takes us. And so, thank goodness, thankfully, we're guided by these precepts. And whenever we have questions about how to live, how to behave, what choices to make in life, we can bring forward the 5 precepts and let them be our guide and our protection. So these are just a few words to consider, reflect upon as we begin the moon day together. And I want to wish you a wonderful day, a peaceful day, a spacious and simple day of practice, and hope to see you all, any of you who can come along this evening, to listen to the sublime Dhamma of Sayadaw Jagara. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same link as this one. I'm going to look into if there's any glitches for this evening and make sure that all our friends can join us. And I'm going to find Elizabeth now and do some precepts with her. Dear friends, have a good day. We'll finish by paying homage to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha together. Arahant Sama Sambuddha Bhagavan Buddham Bhagavantam Abhivademi. Sawakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Supatipano Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Sanghang Namami.